discussion video.
Right, so House on Mango Street. Good book, right? Did we like it?
It was very enjoyable. The short chapters made for easy reading, and I just thought it was a good sized book so that we could get it done in one night.
Alright, so the short chapter thing, why do we think she did that in short little sections?
I think it gave the effect that her life was kind of segmented, because there was little that happened between these moments in her life.
Right.
And in the story there was like, each chapter she either met someone or something happened, but it was all contained in the chapter, which kept it very segmented, which gave you the illusion that she wasn't really comfortable in the setting that she was at Mango Street.
Right, and I think it really directed a lot of focus towards the individual parts of her life. It showed her relationship with all of the different components, all the different components in her life, all the different people that play an important role, and it shows how she relates to them.
Okay, I guess we should be relating everything back to the theme. So I thought it was a really feminist novel, because they kind of, whenever a male character came up in the book, almost always they were depicted as bad or demeaning towards women. There were a couple guys who beat up their wives or beat up girls or whatnot, and then she met the character Sally, and I guess that was towards the end of the book. And then I feel like Sally was kind of, once she met Sally and went through that experience where I guess she was raped by that boy, I guess that's kind of when she realized that she's got to stop trying to escape Mango Street.
I think I'm going to have to agree and disagree with a few of those points.
Okay.
You said it was a feminist novel. I'm going to have to disagree with that one. Although it was a female character, that doesn't necessarily make it a feminist novel.
I agree.
Certainly there were some female characters that went through some bad events with the male characters, but I think if you took it one more level, above the shallow level, just deeper a little bit, you would be able to see that the men in the story were used to symbolize the conflicts in their life, and not just because they were men, but just because they needed the conflicts in the book.
Why did they need the conflicts in the book?
Because it was a book and it had to have or else it wouldn't be a book, or else it wouldn't be a story. You brought up Sally, who really introduced Esperanza into the sexual things in her life, and so she really didn't like being on Mango Street because it symbolized she didn't want to fit in. I don't know what it symbolized, but she really didn't want to fit in.
Symbolized her, yeah. She didn't think she fit.
Do you guys remember in the book?
Right. So after that, she wanted to escape Mango Street, so she made this new friend Sally, who was kind of already departed Mango Street. And once she realized that Sally led to getting raped and that sexual thing that they went through, she realized that she really did belong in Mango Street, even though she didn't want to, and that eventually led her actually leaving Mango Street. Yanni?
What do you think the significance of the fact, how much attention was spent towards meme Oryx and towards Sally, all the attention that was pointed towards each individual character? What do you think the purpose of that was?
What do you mean? How each person had their own story?
Yeah, each person had their own story. They got their own chapter. They had their own section of the book.
I thought it was kind of like you picture a timeline that you'd make for a school project. You don't outline the entire thing. It's not a narrative. It's just the most important events. And I feel like that's why it was these different chapters. And because to outline the fact that these are the most important events in her lives, these are why she
Yeah, I think we get what you mean.
I would like to agree sort of with Peter. Like I was saying earlier, this segmented life of hers, the new characters, the short chapters where new characters were implemented, it allowed the author to implement those characters and those developments within Tita. Esperanza, I apologize.
That's weird though, her name was Esperanza.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. But it allowed her to implement those in a way that the author or the reader could understand.
Was anyone else, were you guys confused up until a certain point? Because they never mentioned the setting. there was no connection, and there was no like, we're here in this place. I am this person. All we knew was her name, and I felt a little confused.
It kind of threw me off for the first couple chapters. Yeah, next up. It actually kind of threw me off for a little bit because it said blah blah blah. We went to. I mean, the book started out saying, "I've wanted this kind of house. We've lived in this kind of house. This kind of house." Didn't really give background to the chapters like traditionally we would see, like, oh, his name was Harry Potter, he was blah 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 blah. It didn't give any background on the characters or anything like that. We kind of had to figure it out as it went along. I thought that was a very interesting different way to start the book.
Yeah,
do we know
like they didn't introduce the character, they just introduced what happened to the character, and therefore you get develop it.
So why do we think
it allows the reader to kind of develop the story in their own mind, to like subconsciously, I think, relate incidents in the story with things that they know in their own lives, so they can develop a feel for the characters.
Yeah.
I almost thought it gave me as a reader the freedom to give her the back. I almost related to it better because she left that open-ended. I could assume, well, I want her, using the facts that she gave us, I want her to be from here, and then we know that her family is from Mexico, obviously, and she went through this experience in this way, and kind of why some people think books are better than movies, because you can use your imagination rather than someone putting it on the screen for you.
In the book, a lot happened in the book where there was a woman sitting next to a window, always resting her sadness on her shoulders, and she was just kind of like this.
Right.
And what do you think the significance of that was?
In
the book. Here's the book.
This is the passage?
Yeah.
With...
What?
With who? Who... I feel like you don't think it is a feminist novel, but I feel like this is almost another reason why it was.
Because a lot of the times it was like, because, or Esperanza would say, they didn't want women to be powerful, they didn't want this, and it was kind of like going against the norm at that time, saying, like, empowering women, all the movements of empowerment.
I feel like that also had something to do, all these women that she was surrounded by, almost outside of Sally, they were all people she didn't want to be like, you know?
Yeah.
Her and her sister Ninny, they didn't want to be like their mother and get married and be forced to come and live with their husband here, and she didn't want to be like her great aunt who couldn't see and just sat in her bed all day, and I felt like that kind of showed who she was.
I agree with that. On a similar note, she didn't want to be her relatives, and I think the first way that she was able to stray herself from that image of her relatives was through the shoes that she wore with her friend Sally. She put on these like high-heeled shoes, and then she walked around, and they did some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, almost became prostitutes because they almost accepted I think it was $1 for a kiss from some weird guy.
I think that showed contrast to how she was shown in the beginning of the story as like a little girl. Although she was older than her younger sister, who really was her only playmate.
Did we ever figure out how old she was? I could never figure out how old she was.
No, I'm not sure if we figured out. But we know that she had a little sister, Nenny, and she didn't really like the fact that she was like paired with Nenny because she the age difference was too much to where she couldn't really tell her secrets or couldn't really relate to her that much. So that part with the high heels shows like the maturity that she actually has, and with the creepy hobo guy who wants to give her $1 for a kiss, it shows that they actually were like maturing young adults.
So one thing I saw or found that at the very end, I kept waiting for the novel to conclude itself, for some kind of closure, and I felt like that never came. There's still open ending. I thought she would, you know, the last couple chapters would be her moving out of the Mango Street or moving on with her life, but that never happened.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there about the open ending. It showed what she wanted to leave Mango Street, so she finally did, but she realized that she wasn't someone that wasn't Mango Street. Like she always would be Mango Street, like they said with that market.
What her aunt said.
Yeah. So she went away, but she kept her like traditional values because she realized that she strayed from them. she wouldn't like it. So, and then the book started, or the book ended actually, with her writing the book that we just had read, The House on Mango Street. And I thought that provided some interesting closure and allowed you to, you almost wanted to read the book.
Yeah, there was, I would say, a little bit of closure, and there was, in a sense, it wasn't that open-ended, because like with the high heels, they would kind of like push your your like vision or your like forced perspective to the character. But in reality, a lot of it was up to you to figure out in your head what was happening here. Like, but yeah, it definitely did push you like along the way with some of the details.
Yeah, one thing, when she was talking to her blind aunt before she died, I think that was her aunt who died, yeah. Her aunt said, one of the reasons I thought there was no closure is because her aunt said, never forget where you came from, and the fortune teller did too. Never come back or whatever when you leave, because that's what she was aspiring to do, is to leave. And I thought, and that's kind of what I thought she would leave, and then come back and see how Mango Street was actually her.
With about that psychic or
Wizard.
Wizard. Witch or something.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think that she couldn't focus when she was with the wizard? Why do you think that she couldn't actually get anything out of that? She was like watching the cartoons on TV behind or something like that. She couldn't really get into it. Why do you think that was?
Get into the
whole psychic realm of it, look into the crystal ball. All
I thought I interpreted that as a lack of self-identity within herself, because she
didn't
throughout
know
the whole story.
She didn't know what she wanted.
She didn't know who she was. Well, she thought she knew what she wanted, but in the end she didn't know what she wanted.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah.
Because she'd say, I want this bigger house. Like Mango, like Mango Street is a little bit better, but like this isn't what I want. I want the winding indoor staircase or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Mango Street couldn't, or the house on Mango Street couldn't exactly provide everything that she wanted, and it shows that at first she wanted more and more and more, but then as she grew older and as she matured as a character and developed, it showed that she actually, like, she didn't need as much as she wanted at first, and she kind of toned it down as far as that.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright, so any lasting impressions of the book? Things that'll stay with you after you forget all
I think it'd be interesting to see some of the other works that this author has written, just to see if they're formatted the same way. If she's realized the success that because she's obviously had a lot of success. Right. It's very good, very inspirational. What? And I think that it'd
very
be
inspirational.
I think it'd be very interesting.